Today I'm going to give you an update on all of my seedlings and show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Hi, it's Kayla with 5 Canadian Acres, and I'm here in my grow room where I have all my seedlings started. I was hoping to have some stuff planted out last week, but of course Mother Nature, it's been cold, we had a whole bunch of snow. This weekend's looking promising, so I'll be planting some of these things out. So let's do one last little tour before stuff starts getting moved. We definitely have a lot of stuff growing in here. Every year I say, oh, I'm not going to start things so early, but it's really hard not to, so I do. And we end up with this, but that's okay. I think it's a good problem to have. Up top on this shelf here are all of my seedlings needing to be up potted, put into bigger pots. So I'll actually just bring them down so we can see them a little closer. Okay, so in these first couple of trays we have marigolds. The ones in the back are a package I had, and the ones in the front are seeds I'd saved. The seeds I saved didn't do too good, but that's okay, we have a few. Marigolds can be started directly from seed in the ground, but I just like to have a few early so I can get earlier blooms. I will be starting more seeds outside. In the back there we have straw flowers. You can use them for cut flowers. I'm just trying to add more flowers to the garden this year. Up front here we have zinnias. They can be direct sown as well. I will be planting more. Just the first little batch for some early blooms. In this front, these are nasturtiums. This is a tall climbing nasturtiums. Nasturtiums are really nice. They're an edible flower, and you can actually also eat the leaves. They have a peppery taste, and they're also a trap crop. They can attract bugs that eat them that will not then go and eat your other plants. So this tray is all tomatoes. This is the second round of tomatoes I've started. I'll go over kind of the varieties when I show you the big sizes, but there's German green, ponderosa pink, speckled Roman paste, tiny Tim, and Roma VF. These are all ready to be up potted. As you can see, some ugly. They're just needing some more soil, grow some roots, and some nutrients. I'm just a little behind because of the weather and not being able to plant things out, but these will get up potted here right away, and then they'll be happy. Tomatoes are very resilient. They will bounce back. And in the last tray here, we have some more tomatoes, herbs. Let's see here. So we have some thyme in the front and white yarrow in the back. These are some more tomatoes in the front. They're actually called a Git stuffed tomato. This was a last minute buy at a store, of course. See seeds, I need to buy them. Really cool little tomato that's kind of hollow, and so they're really easy to scoop out so you can make stuffed tomatoes. In the back there we have some curly Scotch kale, and some of those Git stuffed tomatoes. Up front here we have some lacinato kale, which is also known as a dinosaur kale. In the back there is some kohlrabi, and on this side here is some mini basil. So the kohlrabi and the kale will be planted outside here this week, and the rest is going to get up potted and live in the grow room for a little longer. Below all the seedlings here on our second rack we have some peppers. Over here we have some serrano peppers and some habanero peppers. These guys are struggling a little bit. Hot peppers do notoriously grow really slow. They did get a little bit burnt on the leaves there. They're looking good now. Just keep letting them grow, give them good light and some nutrients, and they'll be fine. Then in the next row here we have a few cayenne peppers. I am only starting a few cayenne. I grew a lot last year. They did really good, and I still have a ton dry. Very last row are shishito peppers. That's a new one this year. Trying. It's kind of like a frying pepper. Beside that is a sweet chocolate. So that's kind of like a brown looking pepper, just for something different. Here in this row we have just kind of a mix. I'm not even sure. I think we have some more sweet chocolate in there, and this one here is called a Golden California Wonder, and that'll be a yellow pepper. I'll probably pick some when they're green because I did not start a green pepper, so I'll just pick green ones and then let some ripen to yellow. More Golden California Wonder on this next shelf. And then in this one is a sweet banana pepper. Those I'm hoping to do some pickled peppers with and just to eat. The kids like those ones. And then these ones are my jalapenos. Very happy about their looking awesome. And I'm growing lots of those because we need them for salsa and for pickled jalapenos and cowboy candy. I mentioned that in another video. If you don't know what cowboy candy is, Google it because it is amazing. So I got some onions hanging out. These are onions I started from seed back in February, and they're looking really good. They're again going to be going out here in the next week or two, and they'll grow up, and these are going to be bulbs, nice big bulbs that I'll be able to use for cooking and store a bunch, and then canning as well. More sweet chocolate peppers. And in the corner there, poblano pepper. So again, we're going to use those for stuffing and eating and whatever we can. I got a bottom shelf here. This is a couple of house plants that were not doing very good inside, so I threw them out here. Hopefully they'll perk up. They were actually my mom's plants, so I remember watering these plants when I was a kid. They're old. And then in this little thing we have, this is some kale, some lacinato kale, which is a dinosaur kale, as well as lettuce. And I was just growing this for cut and come again. So once it gets big, I'm just going to start cutting off the outside leaves, and then it'll grow back, and hopefully I'll get 2 or 3 salads out of that. Those 2 pots are some horseradish that I'm trying to get going here. We'll hopefully get that established. It's a perennial, so once it gets going, I can be able to harvest that every year. It's really good for making fire cider. I made fire cider last year and I couldn't find horseradish. So I believe it's found in the spring. I made it in the fall. It's all over the grocery store now. I'm going to grow my own. Here we have this is a catnip, which is part of the mint family. And this is chervil, which is another herb. It's actually growing them, my daughter's growing them for warrior cat herbs. She's into these books, Warrior Cats, and they have all these herbs in there. So it's been really great actually having them be interested in growing things. And over here we have some celeriac. That's like celery, but you eat the root of it. I grew some of that last year. It did really well. You can use it in replace like mashed potatoes or add it to like things like that. These are a couple of mint plants that of course I bought when I was shopping because only $2.39, and mint takes a long time to establish. So I have a chocolate mint and a mojito mint, which are really nice. Those will go out, and I'm going to be building a big herb garden this year. Now on to some ugly. These are my yellow pear tomatoes. They are not looking good, as you can see. Their leaves are just dropping off, curling up really bad. And this is a result of over watering. You can see that they're dying, but the soil is really moist. So that's a sure sign that they're not doing so good. What I'm going to do is up pot. So you can see this, how tall this guy is. I'm going to get a nice big container like this, and I'm going to plant that and bury it very deep. Now this is a national pickling cucumber I started. Cucumbers, squash, all that stuff does not like to be transplanted. But I'm going to just grow this right in my room here and just hopefully get some early cucumbers. Stuff is starting to happen. Here's just a couple of random tomatoes that aren't fitting on my shelf, because as you can see, my tomato shelf is very full as well. This first row here, these are a pink boar tomato. They're looking really good. See, they got nice thick stems. Over here are a speckled Roman paste. And I have a few on the edge here, Ponderosa pink. Yeah, now these ones aren't looking so good either. There's some ugly right there. What I will do with that is just pull off those bottom leaves and try to repot them a little bit deeper. And over in the end here are my tiny Tims. They're looking really good. They're not small, they're just, well, they're small, but they're supposed to be small because they're dwarf plants. Those are one of my favorite little cherries. These things you can put into a container. They'll only grow like a foot high, but they produce tons of little cherry tomatoes. These are a Scotia tomato. I grew these last year. They did really well. These ones are nice. Just a medium-sized tomato. Good for canning, good for eating, good for salsa. And then in the back there we have just a red cherry tomato. And then on the end here we have a German green tomato. Now if you look at these guys, you notice how they're starting to become a little bit yellowed on the edges. Go down here and they are very light and dry. So these guys need some nutrients. So I'm going to be watering them and giving them some nutrients. Then on the bottom shelf here we have some Roma VF. I grew these last year. A really nice little medium-sized tomato. Roma tomato is a paste tomato, so they're good for sauces because there's not a lot of juice or seeds. There's a lot of meat in them. Okay, and because I didn't start enough tomatoes, I had to go buy some. These are just some cool varieties I wanted to try. So there are, the back here are what's called a Paul Robeson. It's kind of like a black tomato. Got 2 Paul Robesons. There's one that's called Black from Tula. and those are both black. And then the other one here is a gold medal, which is a yellow tomato. And then I have these 3 on the end are cherry. There are 2 chocolate sprinkle, I think they were called. Yeah, those 2 are chocolate sprinkle. And this one here is a purple bumblebee. So just some neat varieties. You can see they're not looking super good either. A repot, some nutrients, and good lighting. Tomatoes are resilient and they will come around. If you see a lot of like dark speckled, like even with these ones, you can see there's not a lot of like marks on the leaves, so you can tell that is a watering problem. If you see ones that have a lot of like brown, crusty or like mushy kind of, that's more of a fungal disease. On the table here we have all the brassicas. These are the things that were supposed to go outside last week, but unfortunately the weather did not cooperate. They'll be going out in the next few days, but first I need to harden them off. To harden them off, that basically means is just to put them outside to get them used to the elements, the sun, the wind, because they can get sunburnt, they can get windburnt. All you have to do every day is just put them out for an hour, and then the next day 2 hours, next day 3 hours, just to get used to them. Let's see what we got here. This is cauliflower. It's pretty small. We'll see what we get out of it. And here we have broccoli. This is a Sun King broccoli. And then over here is a Green Magic broccoli. And then in the newspaper pots we have a Munchkin broccoli. I grew the Munchkin last year. It did really well. It's pretty small. Over here we have the Romanesco broccoli. It's really leggy. See, it's falling over there. It just did not get enough light. Hopefully it will grow, but we'll try. In this middle thing we have Red Express cabbage there. Looking a little bit dry. You see how again it's kind of curling up. I'm gonna water those guys. And then here is an early Copenhagen market cabbage. Grew those last year, just a few of them, and they did really well. But as you can see, they're starting to head up already. So that means they're starting to form heads of cabbage, which is not ideal. We'll put them out anyways and get what we can. These are the tiara cabbage. They only take 45 days. That's why they are growing little cabbage heads. Hopefully put them out this weekend and we'll be eating cabbage in a month. And then lastly, up over on this shelf, we have some more flowers and herbs. These over here are hibiscus. They are really cool. I'm growing them just so I can take the flowers and make hibiscus tea. They're also really pretty. In the back there are actually some apple trees. Just, you know, because I'm not growing enough, I just took some of my apple seeds one day and decided to plant them. These are some more nasturtiums. These are a papaya cream nasturtium. These nasturtiums can be put in pots because they won't climb. Just a random little marigold there. In front here is some lovage, some more ugly. I don't know, it just is struggling. Lovage is a perennial, so a lot of times perennials will grow really slow. The fact that we've got some green here still, I'm just going to keep letting them grow and hopefully they'll just take off. Some more zinnias needing to be up potted. Over here we have some basil. This is a lemon basil in front and a Genovese basil in the back. Again, those are ready to be up potted. Basil's kind of nice because what I'm going to do is up pot it, and then as it grows you can trim the tops down and it'll make it become bushier. Over here we've got some tarragon. Another herb, holy basil, which is used more medicinally. Back there is yarrow, which again is a beautiful flower, and also medicinally. We'll be using that. This is some parsley, some Swiss giant pansies. Those are really pretty flowers. They are the flowers from Alice in Wonderland. Here we have some borret. It is a huge pollinator fan, so I'm growing that for the pollinators. Again, it's also edible. It tastes like cucumber supposedly. I've never grown it, but we'll try. In the front here we have some echinacea, which again is a perennial, very slow growing. I got one little ground cherry here. One ground cherry plant will produce hundreds of ground cherries. Here we have sage. I'm hoping to get a nice big sage patch established. On the bottom here we have some parsley. Here is some mint. There's some lemon balm. Lemon balm is one of my favorite herbs. Again, it's part of the mint family. Over here is my celery. Again, celery takes a very long time to grow. Started these back in February, but you can see it's starting to come there. Hopefully we'll get this out in the garden a couple of weeks and it can grow nice and big. So that's everything going on with the seedlings. I'll be really excited to get these out so I can space everything out more and really be able to give what's left in here the right care in order to have the most success to getting it out into my garden. I hope you enjoyed this little tour today, and we'll see you on the next video, which will hopefully be planting out these brassicas. Thanks so much for watching. Bye now.